Welcome to RC Racing. This month we conclude our interview with industry pioneer Cecil Schumacher, meet 2004 world champion Mark Reinhard, and we find out who the new world champion is with our exclusive race coverage of the third A main from Turin. But first, we look at the ready-to-run truck that's actually a quad. Meet Tim. He has a tough life, non-stop action and accidents on board his Savage ATV, but he keeps coming back for more. The HPI Savage ATV, or quad replica, is based on the ever-popular truck range, and as such has all the advantages that Savage DNA brings: a fully developed chassis, excellent suspension and robust, well-proven drivetrain. However, it's Tim, as we call him, that really makes its vehicle. Let's get him on the track to show you why. For some reason, every stunt and every accident is just more fun when Tim's along for the ride. Whether he's negotiating a tricky bend or speeding along the rough stuff, he looks just great. And when a stunt goes wrong, and Tim gets hit, you do feel genuinely sorry for him. Well, when you've stopped laughing. The Savage ATV combines all its best in ready-to-run RC action. It's easy to drive, handles all terrains, and with Tim on top, has that little extra that makes it just plain good fun. We're back in Northampton now, continue our conversation with RC pioneer Cecil Schumacher as he picks up the story of his company's involvement in racing in 1985.
We were one of the main players in 12 scale then, and everyone was predicting the demise of 12 scale, and I was thinking hard about what off-road car we would make. So we were watching that development, and I felt we weren't ready quite to launch into that market, so I hung on in 12 scale for, it was probably about 2 years I think, where everybody else abandoned 12th. We had our best years because people jumped ship so quickly there wasn't anyone that would satisfy the demand, so we did it, thank you very much. And we're able to watch the way the market was evolving, and in that time we designed our first off-road car, and it was worth waiting because we put a lot of thought into it. We had this brilliant driver called Andy Dobson, who had remarkable reactions and really was an extraordinarily good driver. And so because he was the main man and he worked for me, we evolved the car that he wanted. The trouble is, he had 1 in 100,000 person's level of reflexes and reactions, and if you build a car to suit 1 in every 200,000 people or whatever it is, you're not going to sell many. And the car that we produced was the short wheelbase version of that, and Andy could drive it wonderfully well, but nobody else, or very few other people, could. And it really was a difficult car, very short, very twitchy. And so whilst we were playing around with that and we were building up to the World Championships in Romsey, I used to race always rather fairly badly, but I liked racing, and I thought this is ridiculous. So I made a car, I think it was 10 millimetres longer for me. It was known as the geriatric spec within the company, and we called it the XL, which was, you know, put on extra long or something, and it was the XL, and I had my XL, and we'd built 3 like this. We thought we might be marketing this as a more sensible car, and during the warm-up race down in Romsey, I found myself placed in an extraordinarily high position for me, and it wasn't me, of course, it was the car, and I wasn't seeing it that way, but my driver said very diplomatically, "Could we borrow your car?" And they did, and the lad that did that went on to win the race. It became obvious that this was the way to go, and then at the World Championships proper, some months later, Phil Booth had prepared 3 cars to the best possible standards he could. He sort of, if you like, blueprinted them, and we had those 3 cars in the back of the van, just in case anybody would be interested in them. And then Masami Hirosaka, who was driving a short Cat, and of course he could drive it rather well, couldn't he? He was a fairly extraordinary lad, and his car was an absolute heap, and he was still doing extraordinarily well. So it was suggested that we give him one of these special cars, and he had one of these special cars, and he loved it. And his father just had a little camel-haired brush, and all he would do is dust it with the brush. And he kept saying, "I know touch, I know touch," because Masami wouldn't let him do anything to it because it was working so well. And he went on to win, of course, yes, much to the dismay of the Americans and the Japanese. Nowadays I help my chums out doing work on things called pre-selector gearboxes, which are not much is known about, and by good fortune I know about them, and so people bring me their old racing car gearboxes, and I straighten them out for them.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.